We've all seen it at a dinner party. A glass of dark, ruby red wine is violently spun in circles before the first sip. Compare that frantic 10-second spin to the quiet, hours-long ritual of pouring a vintage into a crystal decanter to sit on a dining table. Both actions serve the exact same purpose, introducing oxygen to the liquid. However, treating every bottle as if it needs the same physical intensity leads to ruined flavors. This comparison shows how different tools trigger oxidation. When oxygen interacts with wine, it breaks down harsh compounds like tannins. A decanter provides macro-aeration over 30 to 120 minutes. Swirling creates micro-aeration in 10 to 30 seconds. In both scenarios, you use ambient air to alter the chemistry. The difference lies in the time and physical force of the exposure. Effective aeration requires matching the chemical intensity of the tool to the specific structural demands of the liquid. Oxidation is half the equation. The second major chemical reaction triggered by moving wine is volatilization. This schematic illustrates fluid dynamics. As oxygen hits the liquid's surface, aromatic compounds evaporate and lift. Aggressively swirling the glass accelerates this evaporation. By constantly coating the interior walls, you drastically increase the exposed surface area. Exposing a delicate wine to too much oxygen burns off its desirable traits, flattening the flavor profile into a dull, vinegar-like state. Conversely, failing to introduce enough oxygen leaves bold, heavy wines tasting tight, closed off, and overly bitter on the palate. Controlling the rate of volatilization through proper tool selection ensures the final taste reflects the winemaker's intended profile. To select the aeration method for a specific bottle, we use this decision tree, splitting wines into bold reds, whites and light reds, or sparkling and old vintages. Following the bold reds path down the nodes leads to a clear final recommendation: decant. Young, bold red wines like Cabernet Sauvignon and Syrah contain a high tannin structure that makes them naturally astringent right out of the bottle. To break that structure down, these wines must be poured into a wide-base decanter and left alone for 30 to 120 minutes prior to drinking. This prolonged exposure allows for deep oxygen penetration. It softens the harsh tannins and rounds out the wine's mouthfeel. The trade-off is obvious. This method demands pre-planning and actively delays your gratification. When dealing with a heavy wine structure, swirling it in a standard glass is insufficient. You have to sacrifice time to generate enough oxygen exchange to properly break down the liquid. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the path for delicate whites like Chardonnay and lighter reds like Pinot Noir leads to a different recommendation: swirl in glass. The required effort here is minimal. You fill only 1/3 of the glass and apply a gentle swirl for 10 to 30 seconds. This brief micro-aeration releases lighter floral and fruit compounds without destroying the wine's crisp acidity. Using a decanter on these fragile wines is a guaranteed mistake. Macro-aerating whites and light reds will over-oxidize them, stripping away their fresh flavors before the liquid ever reaches your palate. The advantage is immediate drinking readiness, though it does require active management while you consume it. When handling lighter wines, restraint is mandatory. It coaxes the flavors out gently, rather than battering them with oxygen. This brings us to the final path for sparkling and old vintages, which ends with a strict instruction: do not aerate. The goal is to pour the wine directly into the glass with zero decanting and zero swirling. In sparkling wine, the rising carbon dioxide bubbles carry the aromas up to your nose without any outside help. For old vintages, bottles aged 15 years or more, limiting oxygen exposure preserves their fragile chemical state. Swirling these specific wines will instantly kill the carbonation in a champagne or destroy the delicate flavor profile remaining in a decades-old bottle. Intervening with tools or motion physically degrades the complex product you paid for. Often, the action of the drinker matters less than the engineering of the vessel itself. The wine glass acts as a passive aerator. This blueprint shows a standard wine glass. The wide bowl maximizes surface area, while the tapered rim funnels aromas directly up to your nose. This geometry requires filling the glass only 1/3 full, leaving empty volume for swirling to capture oxygen. Below the bowl, the stem serves a thermal purpose. It prevents your body heat from warming the fluid, which would alter the volatilization rate and throw off the intended flavor. Using properly engineered glassware correctly does half the aeration work for you. For the vast majority of everyday consumption, aggressive decanting is unnecessary. We map these strategies to drinker lifestyles. For the dinner party host, buying young, heavy reds necessitates the time investment of decanting to maximize value. Conversely, the time-poor casual optimizes for lighter reds and whites, which only require a 10-second swirl. If you are ever unsure of what a bottle needs, there is a fail-safe rule. Start with a gentle swirl in the glass. You can always add more oxygen to a closed wine, but you cannot fix a wine that is already over-oxidized. Understanding the basic chemistry of aeration replaces wine snob theater with practical logic. You can now optimize your time and drink every bottle exactly when it's structurally ready.